Everyone, and welcome once again to our second session of the four-part series of our Meeting of Minds discussions. So as you know, last week we were talking, or a few days ago, we were talking on the issues of women and peace. Today, we're looking at youth and peace. You know, most of the time when people talk about the youth, they refer to them as the future leaders, you know, or the leaders of tomorrow. So, or just the other, you know, we will talk about issues of women and children, but we either would put youth as being part of the children or part of the women, you know, so they are just the other group that sometimes we tend to forget about. Now, when I looked at what the estimations from the United Nations are with regards to the young people or youth, they estimate that there are 1.3 billion young people who are between the ages of 15 and 24 in the world. But what I found interesting was that they say that nearly 1 billion of them live in developing countries. Now, we do know that most developing countries have got a lot of conflict that is taking place. We would see young people carrying rifles, young people carrying weapons, being soldiers, you know, instead of them being at school, instead of them being at universities, you know, to gather relevant skills that they need. So in some cases, the young people can be heroes. They can be victims of violence, and it becomes even worse for young girls. You know, we spoke the other day about issues of trafficking and so on. So today, then we will be talking to a young person by the name of Vayo. Vayo is has committed her life to support her peers in a township called Kibera in Nairobi, Kenya. She ensures that young people's voices are heard, and she always makes an effort to help young people achieve their own peace. To talk to us today, Vayo is sitting with Ellie Bird. Ellie is a member of the Gender Agenda International, as you know, and you have seen from our invitations to you. But before I hand over to Ellie and Vayo, I just want to share just a little bit from the South African perspective. You know, in 1976, we had the youth. It was basically young people in high school, which means that they were between the ages of between 16 and 19, who stood against the apartheid regime to make sure that the education of the Black children will be equal to the education of all other children in South Africa. And really that brought a huge change in the history of South Africa, and as well as has contributed to the democracy that we see in South Africa. So I thought I should just share just one example from my side of the huge impact that the youth have made in our country and in the democracy that many of the young people today can enjoy. Having said that, they still have, as young people, struggle with other issues which does not give them peace. So let us then hear from Vayo and Ellie. You can take us through in terms of your ideas. We would like to know what does really peace mean for young people, and what are the issues that they are dealing with.
Thank you, Leah. And from Kenya, it's good afternoon, but also we sort of say good morning and good evening to everybody that's joining us today. So Leah, thank you very much for that introduction. I would like, first of all, Vio, just to share with us just a little overview of the role that she has and the work that she's doing. And then we're going to facilitate this through, I'm going to ask Vio some questions to allow her to share thoughts and experience. And then, of course, we'll open up to everybody who can ask questions of Vio themselves. So first of all, Vio, thank you. I've known Vio since 2013 and always been incredibly humbled and just amazed and overwhelmed by her commitment to her peers and young people in her community. So thank you for joining us this morning. So please start off, just share with friends and colleagues here, what is it, the work that you're doing?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Vio, as Elia said. Now in Kibera, I'm a mentor, girls empowerment mentor. And we started it in 2013, as Elia said before. In Kibera, it is a slum, the biggest slum in Africa as it is known. And in Kibera, girls do face so many challenges. And that is why we came in as empowerment desk to enable our girls and the teenage within our community to be people in the near future through educating them on how they should carry out themselves and build confidence in themselves and face challenges within them and being able to be people in the near future. Now, as a mentor in Kibera, there are so many things we carry out with the teenage living within the Kibera. Because Kibera, as the biggest slum, has got so many challenges. And those challenges, we do talk about them as a team, and as we know, every problem has got a resolution. Now we come up with a resolution so that we can be people in the nearer future. Now, as peace is concerned, youth and peace have not been synonymous. As we all know, the youth, as I can ask myself, who is a youth? In the Kenyan policy, we describe youth as the age between 18 years to 35. Now, what are the youths? The youths play a vital role in our community because they are the largest number in the community, where they should be engaged in peacemaking, since in communities like the slum where I come from, the majority tend to be the youths. And since they are the majority, their voice should be heard in any decision being made. And that will make the community be at peace. Because when the majority's ideas is left pending and others are there to decide for them, they will come up with a solution which will not help the community. As we know, in every community where peace prevails, things go on the right way. Like in the slum where I stay, most of the time we have violence during elections and after elections, post-elections and during elections. And this one, mostly the people engaged are these teenage and the youths. Because you will get the elderly people, they will be seated. The youths are taken to be having potential, very energetic, and again, the youth are the people who are also vulnerable, because you will get they have got education and they are not employed. Now they are easily swayed to bring about conflict in the society. Now, as Vio, the mentor in Kibera, we engage. We start with the teenage. We engage them on the teachings on how they can come up about peacemaking among themselves, like bringing the teenage together, teaching them the benefits of peace and how peace will bring community together. As we know, in every society, globally, nationally, when peace is endorsed, everybody will live at peace and the community will arise from any ethnicity where they are. Now, in my community, the rioting, the conflict had been part and parcel of the people living within it, because it is a community with so many tribes, so many cultures, different cultures, I mean, and you will get, my culture will differ from other people's culture, and that will bring, maybe we will differ in accordance to our culture, and that will bring conflict. Now, like those living in the slum, our role as mentors is to bring the people together, the youths and the teenage. We teach them the importance of being together and the importance of being at peace with one another. And in an environment where there is peace, things do move on well. Like during elections, you will get women and the youths are the most affected people. The women, the children, and the youths are the most affected people, because when there is no peace in an environment, the mothers will not be at peace. The children, even the girls, the girls will not be at peace, because during post-election violence, so many were raped. The ladies, men ran away, and the women and the girls were really endangered. Now, living with peace with one another has brought so many things. That is why we said through engaging the youths, through engaging youths in decision-making on peacemaking, will enable the community to reach somewhere. Now, to add on, our community has got so many challenges. It is where peace has not been there. But since the teachings we have been giving out to the young and the aged, the youths, has made us have so many challenges within us. For instance, you will get, in our community, Kibera, you will get people used to fight over small things like land, tribalism within us. We used to fight. And since the youths were brought together and they were told the benefits of living together, the benefits of knowing what is good, the benefits of living in harmony with our neighbors, that has brought a lot in our community. And that is why, as a mentor, we do engage our teenage girls and teenage boys in activities like tournaments, and through tournaments we bring up so many of them together, so many groups together, and while they are playing, we also have topics to discuss on peacemaking. And while discussing peacemaking, we make peace with different communities within our community, and that ensures environment to be peaceful. Again, in schools, we have clubs, and at times we reach out to the clubs and we teach them on the benefits of being in peace with one another. And as we know, youths are the center of every community, at the center of every community. We'll get, when the youths are not behaving normally, the environment will not be at peace, because we'll get, they will be easily swayed for immorals. And when we are living with peace within us, even the administrations around us will have easy time to work out their duties within our community. Now you will get, long time ago, you will get girls we feared, like myself. When we saw policemen coming around, we used to run away, because we know where policemen do pass, we know there was what? War or fighting was there to be seen. But nowadays, it has come to our point where we know policemen are also peacemakers. Whenever they are within us, we feel safe. We feel safe within our community. And that made us very proud, because we know as the youth, we are very energetic, and we can be used easily. We are the people that can be swayed to do things which will affect the community. At the same time, we can be used to do things which will not benefit us. As we young people, as we know our role in our community, where we can know on what perspectives to take on dealing with matters to do with peace, because we will get, when there is peace in our community, things will move on. Even those who are doing their small business, our mothers who are doing their small business will be at peace because they know the little they will get will not be taken away from them with the youths within surrounding us. And again, youths, when they are endorsed with information, they will know what to do and what not to do. And while living in a community where peace is endorsed, everything will move on well. Globally, we will be at peace because fighting starts from the community, the communities. The fight from a community will go nationally, then explode globally. Now when we are at peace at lower level, even those who are at higher level will at least see if the young people are at peace, why us up here? Now as the youths in Kibera, now what we are up to is just bringing peace within us and being able to know the reasons why peace should be in our communities at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Vayo and Ellie. Very informative indeed. Let's engage from the other participants. Anyone has got a question or a comment? We've heard about everything that Vayo has shared with us. Yeah, let's engage. I see Melissa, you have a hand.
Okay, hi, thank you so much, Vayo. That was really impressive to hear about the work that you're doing. I was really excited to hear about what you said about the impact that the teenage peacemakers had on police, and that they then re-envisaged their role as peacemakers. So I'm wondering about what other impacts your teenage peacemakers and activities might want to have on police, and whether you want the role of police to change to have more engagement, or to have a limited role so that you and the youth still have a more autonomous role in creating peace.
Yeah. Now, the role of the police in our community is also a very nice one, because with the administration within us, we are able to be guided. And as we know, the policemen are peacemakers. Whenever they are around, we know peace will prevail. Now, their presence in our community is very important, because in Kibera we are overpopulated. There are so many living within that area, and there are some routes which the policemen should follow up so that they could know. Because from our view, maybe we could be bringing the teenage, mostly I'm dealing with the teenage, we can be bringing the teenage on board, but others, who are 19 going onwards, are doing other things behind the doors. Now it is upon the policemen to follow up so that at large we come at peace together. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Alvana.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. Vayo, it was a wonderful speech from you, and thank you so much for all these details that you gave to us. I have one question for you. I would like to know more, what's the main perspective of youth in Kenya, and what are their most necessary needs?
The youths in Kenya have so many needs, but most of them can't reach their needs because of so many challenges we do face. You will get in Kenya, maybe some is learned, others are learned, and there are no jobs. Now you will get the youths are just there idling, and if they are not engaged, maybe when they are engaged in a right way or in a wrong way, they can be influential to the community. That is why their role is very important in a community while making decisions, because they are the majority. While the youths are the majority, they should be engaged in every event taking place in the community, so that they will be at par with every event taking place. And that will make them at least be positive thinkers, and they will know ways to follow instead of being blackmailed because maybe they lack a job, or maybe they are just there, they are not having any skills to do. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Vayo, what is the impact of corruption on young people and peace?
Yeah, now you will get, when there is no peace, maybe corruption is there. Corruption will be seen locally, nationally, and globally. And that will, when there is corruption within the community, you will get things will not be moving on well, and challenges will be seen where the youths will be maybe rioting. They will be rioting, and they will be making war within themselves. And when the war begins locally, it will go up to national level, because you'll get corruption. It is very difficult for the youths to overcome corruption if they are not being taught. And in a level of corruption, it is better when they are told the reasons why corruption should be dealt with and the teachings about corruption, so that when, as we say, the youths are people to be leaders in future. If they are taught the reasons not to be corrupt, they will be good leaders and everything will move on. And if they are not being engaged in corruption issues, you will get that line will be just continuing. The corruption will be keep on increasing on a daily basis. And when they are told, because the elders are going and the youth are taking their parts, and if they are taking their parts, while corruption is also on a high note, you will get, we will not have that room to change everything, because everybody will be growing within that corruption. As they know, with the corruption, even me myself, for instance, when I'm growing, knowing this is the routine, they will keep on doing it the way it is. But when they are taught and know the reasons why they should be engaged in corruption at youth level, when they get positions in higher level, they will be able to know how to deal with, and that will bring peace among the people at lower level. Yeah, thank you.
I think what I'd also like to sort of add on there is that, and particularly in Kenya, it is considered that the government have created such a high level of debt, of national debt, that actually the young people that we see today, and I mean the 11, the 12, the 13-year-olds, they are going to be the ones who will have to move the country out of this debt. And so much of the debt is linked to corruption. So the challenge that young people face is not simply the impact of corruption today, but they are going to have to move and to carry the country out of this situation for probably a good few generations to come.
That's very sad, that, okay, I see the hands. It's very sad that now, while the young people of today are experiencing their own challenges, the challenges of unemployment, overcrowding, all those things that Vi has shared with us. But on top of that, the older generation is leaving them these problems, as you are saying, as Ellie is indicating, the challenge with regards to the debt. So now, before this current generation of young people can begin to have peace and to enjoy their lives, they first have to clean up, what the older generation is living. And I mean, that is very, very bad. So I saw Tembani.
Hi everyone, Tembani here. Okay, what I wanted to just ask from Eliped is that I wanted to understand that are you saying teaching kids from an early age about corruption has been implemented, or it's something that's still to be implemented? And then on top of that, I want to know, is the repercussions or measures which are put in place that the youth of today can see when they're being implemented against people who are doing corruption. Because of if I'm told that corruption is wrong, I'm taught that corruption is wrong. But I see people who are doing corruption as successful, as happy, as living that life that I want to live. I might know corruption is wrong, but I know there's no repercussion. I know there's no measures. So what is in place? Maybe that's my question. What is in place to make sure that they can see there's repercussions, there's punishment against corruption, even though it's wrong? Thank you.
Okay, so really good question. And actually one of my first meetings with VIO back in 2013 in Kibera was an experience of young people asking me, how do we get rid of corruption? How do we stop corruption? And I genuinely think it was because their perception is that corruption doesn't exist in the UK where I came from at the time, and that they were very aware of the impact that it was having on their own lives. So my answer to those young people is you are the solution to stopping the corruption. So in developing the program that VIO now leads on is where we teach the children, the young people, about morally, professionally, about having good values and doing the right thing despite those challenges. And you're absolutely right. It's so difficult when young people see senior people, leaders, politicians, people working for the government, having all of these riches, and yet still trying to tell them that is not the right way to pursue this. But when we look at corruption within the police, it's very easy just to criticize the police. But actually, the police are representative of the community. And so many communities survive through that corruption.
All right. No, thank you, Ellie.
Thank you so much again. Vayo, you spoke about the perspective and about the needs of the young people in Kenya, but I would like specifically now to know what is the position of the young people with disabilities in Kenya? Do they have enough space to work, and do they have enough support from the government especially, and from the other communities? So what about the laws and the implementing of laws in the Kenya about the people with disability, especially when we have to do and to talk about their job position or employment in institutions or any other organizations? So what is the current situation in this case in Kenya? Thank you.
Yeah, you will get, for those with disabilities, it has been a challenge, because you will get, mostly in Kenya, those with disability do not open up to show up that they are in that level. Now, you will get few of them are unable to come out, and others are coming out. For those who are coming out, they are being cared for. And again, if you are maybe educated, you are able to get a job in our community. But you will get that most of the disabled people, they don't come out, they fear. And mostly in the environment where I stay, you'll get maybe the teenage or the youth is disabled and is just kept. Now it is when we are coming out to bring them out so that they can, their views and their ideas could be out. But recently in the past, they have been dormant and their ideas were not being heard because they feared coming out because of their positions and their status. But now in Kenya is when they are trying, not that it has gone far, but they are trying to bring those with disabilities, their voices also to be heard and their needs to be also, so that with them also with the peacemaking, because we will get people with disabilities, when it comes to conflict, they're endangered and they're unable to do so many things, and that make their life at danger. But since their cry had been heard and they're out to bring out their ideas so that they can be part and parcel of this peace building, and also to bring out their views so that they could be heard. Only that, those with disabilities, some of them do fear could be heard. But of late with our government, they are trying so that they could be able to be heard.
Do you have any special law that is implementing currently in Kenya about the people with disability, especially in the employment sector?
Not really, but we have institutions where the people with disabilities are being cared for. Now in those institutions, they are being taken to the schools, and if you have got any idea, or maybe you are learning some of the things, after persevering, after graduation, you are able to be employed, just like any other person. But it is now is when they are coming out. Recently, they were just dormant, they were just there, but they could not be heard. But recently, because they are the institution for the deaf, for the crippled, and that bring them out so that they could know there are those like them, and with them also, they are also part of the community, and they should be respected, and their ideas should be heard.
Unfortunately to hear this, and in this case I can say that Kosovo is one step forward with this, because we still have so many laws that respect the rights of the disability persons, especially for the employment. We have a special law which was from the parliament, supported by the parliament of Kosovo, that every institution should have in 50 persons, in 50 employments, one of them should be definitely with disability. So I mean, I can say that this is going to be respected in 100% in Kosovo, but we did a step forward on this to make this law, and to try to respect the disability persons, especially in the case of the employment. And I hope that this kind of a law should implement every country, especially for these persons who definitely need support, not only from the communities or organizations or NGOs, but also from the government, which is a really main issue. Thank you.
No, you're correct. No, I agree with Elvana. I think, you know, and most people, I don't even want to say governments, don't realize that all of us are just, or let me put it this way, and a disability is just an incident away for all of us. You know, I could be sitting here with you, and I walked from my kitchen to come and sit here for this meeting, but I could stand up after this meeting just walking, and then the next thing you'll hear that I'm paralyzed, I fell and I got paralyzed or anything. So that's what maybe people are failing to realize, that anybody can, you know, become a disabled at any time. And that is why those laws are really very helpful for the people with disabilities to be able to earn a decent living, and to earn something for themselves so that they can have a decent living. They cannot be forever depending on handouts from the government or from people, as if they are not able to capable of you know putting things together for themselves. And in our country, there is a saying that nothing about us without us, from the disability organizations, you know, to say whatever the government wants to put together, they have to involve the people with disabilities. You cannot be having, let's say we're building a center for people with disabilities without them, who know what are the issues that they're dealing with, who know what are their challenges being involved, you know. Okay, I saw Bella's hand, but I just wanted to check with Ellie and Bio. Did you want to comment on Elvana's intervention? Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. Now we will get, for those with disabilities, they have got stigma, and that makes them unable to come out.
Yes.
Now that stigma is what is making them not to come out. We all know that maybe you can be born and maybe you can get it through the way, through life when we are growing up. We all understand that. But for those who have got it on the way, they are able to come out. And those born with the disability, they get it, they are stigmatized, they are unable to come out. And like the communities where we come from, you will get maybe the child is born with the disability and the parent is unable to bring the child out to the community so that the child can be helped. That is, maybe they don't want the family or the community to identify that in that their family there is somebody like that. But for those who are getting them on the way, maybe accidentally, they are able to come out. That is why we say, for those with disabilities, they should be at least taught in our area, they should be enlightened on stigmatization so that they can come out of that stigma to be brave enough to share their views. But those, I'm saying those who are getting them through the way are able to show up and come out so that they could be, at least their views can be heard. But those born with, they're unable to come out. Few of them do come out and others get it difficult because of the environment where we do stay. Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's hear Bella and then Tembani.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bella. I'm working in a project in the Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. So I wanted to add on to the perspective of the youth in Kenya. I think and it's a major challenge for the youth, is the delusion of the reality of being educated and then going into the world to look for jobs or to seek work or employment. And it then brings on many other problems, because when the youth find that they've gone through the whole school process and they come out and they don't manage to get any income generating activity or any employment, then we have other multiple effects, and some of them are crime and violence that she's been talking about. So there is sorry about that. There is the delusion, and it's a big delusion between our education system and what happens after you go through the Kenyan education system. The other thing, point I wanted to add on disability is that we are having a challenge in terms of disability, and this is a general challenge in Kenya. One, because there isn't enough data collected on disability, the types of disability, and so even for purposes of policy and planning, it's a huge challenge because we are struggling with collection of data. Though collection of data also comes because we have the cultural perspective of people in Kenya on what is disability. For many people in the African community, there's the belief that it's a curse, it's a problem. So they tend to hide the children, and they'll not bring them out even when there is help that they can get. And to add on to that, yes, there are laws in Kenya, and quite a number of them have been passed in terms of assistance and help for people with disability. And even in Kenya, there's a current ongoing program by the Kenyan government to assist people with disability. Though you will find, as I said, many people will not come out and get the assistance. And then there's the majority who do not know, especially the rural population, they do not know where to seek that help from. So they will stay with their children at home and they will not know where to take them. The other problem with disability in Kenya is the education facilities for these children who are having disability. So you'll find you're at home with your child in the rural area, but you do not have, a nearby education facility that can assist your child. So you'd have to walk for miles, or you'd have to seek transport. And probably, as a mother in the rural area, you don't have the means, you don't have the money for that transportation. And you remember that most children especially who have severe disability, you need to take them and bring them back home. So you find that these children will tend to stay at home. They'll never get education because of the challenges of getting to an education facility. So though the government of Kenya has really tried, for any special school that is there, they have made them into boarding facilities. But again, the population is such that, as I said, they're not aware about them. Some of them, they don't know where to get that help. They don't know which school to take their children. And so I think in the future, the government has a lot of work, the Department of Social Services, in terms of enlightening the Kenyan population about what to seek where for disability. Thank you. Over to you, back to you.
All right, no, thank you, Bella. Tembani, you had a hand?
Oh, thanks for that. Okay, I just want to go back to, I think Bella answered part of my question here, because I wanted to actually understand what is the government or maybe the hospitals in Kenya doing to help with disability, because of there's some, as we get data, because we said the problem is there's not enough analysis of data, there's not enough capacity maybe to collect the data, because of some illnesses that we have today, it's actually curable at birth. So do kids still have to maybe be born with diseases such as, I forgot the name of the disease, but like when the kid upon squint, I know there's a solution to that. There's a medical solution to that. So you answered me about telling me that you don't have the capacity. Is there plans in place for that? When we go back to respecting the people living with disabilities, I've seen most governments where they create these positions for people with disabilities, but they don't come with respect. So it's a ticket of a box saying we've got 50 disabled people in our company. They know, I mean, they'll get tax rebates and whatever. It's a tick of a box. But if I'm like now, I'm an IT professional. If I'm a biker as well. So if I'm to be disabled while I'm riding my bike, because I was a professional in it already, I think it will be easy for me to go back to my work than a person who's born with a disability. As you mentioned, the stigma earlier on. Yeah, so my one point was that we need to respect the disabled people, not just hire them as a tick box. And then I wanted to find out that what is the government doing for the medical conditions that we have a cure of maybe in other countries? Are they getting those countries to come help with that, or are they doing it on their own? Thank you.
Yeah, just very briefly, just to come in there. I mean, I think you know, the sort of the systems and the infrastructure that we might see around the world, sort of health insurance, or you know, being able to claim compensation from other people if maybe we were injured in an accident, so liability. You know, lots of those things don't exist, or they're not accessible for the majority of people in Kenya. You know, there is an expectation to make a financial contribution each month to being able to access health facilities and healthcare for your family. Again, for many people, particularly for women, particularly for young people, that's very difficult. But even, you know, there is good progress being made. And actually, I guess that for Kenya, the first real step in terms of that progress is about respecting those people with a disability, whatever that disability is. And even within the government, you know, there is a very prominent individual who he's albino. So imagine that within the context of an African country, that's very significant. And he certainly does a lot to campaign in terms of better rights. But still very much, and particularly in rural areas like Bella's talked about, is that unless you even have the education of what a disability might be, then people won't come forward. And I've even you know, seen incidents of where a child has been born to a mother who has a disability, and actually that child has copied and mimicked the behavior of their mother. And so people have assumed that the child is also disabled. It's only when an assessment has been done that actually that child isn't disabled. They have simply mimicked the behavior of their mother through those early years. So the first part is actually about having respect. it is about education, it is about understanding, but still in terms of, and I think about Kibera and how somebody in a wheelchair might be able to move around, you know, to access any of those basic needs, being able to get into school, everything at the moment physically is a challenge. But again, just coming back to the purpose of the discussion today, these are all reasons why we need to engage young people in defining peace. Because even peace within our mind, am I being heard? I'm different to other people. That doesn't mean I don't have a right to have that voice. So, you know, even as we've introduced and talked about people with disability, it's very, very relevant around young people, tolerance, understanding, education, and as Vayo said right from the start, if we have all of that, then we have the foundation for peace.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I hear the example you made there about the albino person there, the person living with albinism. I want to know, like, this youth that we are looking at, do they have enough, because disability is not a new thing. I mean, people has been disabled for centuries already. Do we have enough people in power who are leading this in front, or are we looking at there's people in communities who are disabled, who are always looking for help, who always a charity case? How effective at the top? Now I'm talking about the top level now, because I'm worried about these young kids that you are talking about. We say we want to develop these kids, we put these programs together. We can put as many programs as we want, but if the strategy that we are looking at, it's not realistic, we are teaching these kids fantasy, like as a disabled person you can do this, that we know that they cannot ever live to that full capacity. We need someone in power, someone who is influential, who's up there, high there, in disability, to show that this is where I live to be. Do we have enough people like that to encourage the kids? Yeah, I just wanted to complete that part of my question. Thanks.
Yeah, we have so many of them. Like we will get in every community, there are people standing in for every person in a community. For instance, there are those standing for women, there are those standing for the children, and there are those standing for the disabled. And it is their role to bring out their views and get information from those within the area where we are. And through that, when they are those standing for them, as aid out their ideas, that idea will be taken nationally, and again, it will move to the highest level so that it could be discussed further. And if there is a representative standing for the disability, the youths, for instance, if there is somebody standing for me, I'll respect that person and I'll get what the person is saying, because the person has got ideas on the things I should be doing and the things I should not be doing. For those with disabilities, they have those standing for them. And those standing for them gather information, the challenges they do face, what are their problems, what do they want to be, and what do they want to do. Now, through that, the person standing for them will bring out their view to the government so that they could be heard, And for those who can't speak, there is those collecting data to the community level, after which it is taken to the national level and globally. And through that, their ideas are able to be fulfilled.
Okay, yeah, I want to sort of take us back to some of the particular issues that young people, particularly young women and girls, face in Kibera. I've had the privilege of visiting twice now Kibera and seeing for myself, you know, what some of the issues are. But really ask Leo and Ellie to share. I'd like us to hear the impact of engaging young people and mentoring has on reducing violence, because I was privileged to observe one of Vayo's sessions. She mentioned earlier about they run sessions with sports, bring kids together, but she was actually running one of her mentorship sessions, and it really struck me because of the age of the children that was involved, of how she was getting them to understand, getting the boys to understand, to respect women and their rights to control their bodies, and she was getting the girls to understand that they have a right to say no. But I know Ellie has an example she's used previously about the impact on one of these teenage girls for this mentorship. So I was hoping they could sort of share some of that to put it really into context.
Thanks, Jane. If I very briefly just sort of share that example, and then ask Vayo just to share sort of her approach and the kind of things that she talks about with the girls. So, you know, from a policing background, my first sort of visit into Kibera in 2013, and I'd met with some Kenyan police officers, some female police officers, a few days beforehand. I learned that young men in gangs had realised the value of a sanitary towel as a commodity, and that young girls in Kibera were being raped, forced to have sex in exchange for sanitary towels. And it was actually those very early discussions with Vayo which really motivated us to be able to set up this programme. So again, if you look at that in the context of peace, you've got young men that see that they have a position of power and authority and influence in a very negative way, but also imagine the feeling for those girls as well. So that's how we started the programme. So Vayo, perhaps you share, as Jane said, what kind of things do you talk to the girls and boys about?
Yeah, thank you. Now in Kibera, we had so many challenges, as Elia said. There we are overpopulated and with different ethnic groups within us. And you will get that in our community, girls were faced by so many challenges. And first of them, they were lacking pads. And again, they were unable to come out to stand for themselves. And even before, the girls were not attending to their daily educational routine. You will get maybe, if I'm attending, I'll miss school for 3 to 4 days. Now you'll get, if we are going to school for 7 days, Monday to Friday, and a girl has missed for 3 days, he will be dragged behind. And boys will be coming forward and girls will be remaining backward. Now the need of bringing girls together and teach them on ways on which they can carry out themselves and be strong enough to stand for themselves has really brought peace in our community. Because you'll get, now they know their role and they also understand that what boys can do or the men can do, they also themselves can also do better. And that has brought so many challenges. That is why we came in with boys empowerment, because it was much on girls that the boys were now becoming inactive. Now with an environment where girls as far and boys are remaining, the environment is not balanced. That is why we also bring in boys empowerment and the girls empowerment, so that they could be taught together on how to carry out themselves, so that will bring change within our community. And so far we have seen so many achievements as far empowerment is concerned, because you will get today, the girls are able to get sanitary towels from the help of Amuka Foundation, and they are able to improve on their studies. Like when we are doing the Kenya National Examination, we will get the girls are performing more than the boys. And that is a credit to us, because we know that if you teach a girl, you teach the community. Because ladies will take part like the women, mostly the women, apart from thinking of themselves, they also think of others. Now, when you get girls are well educated, the community as per will have good foundation, and when the ladies and the women are at peace, the community at large will feel that peace within them. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Ms. Bella?
Thank you. I wanted to just answer Tembani, if I'm correct in pronunciation, a little bit more in terms of that in Kenya, we have a new constitution. It has been 10 years now, and it's a very good constitution in terms of rights of people with disability, gender, and gender issues. The problem is that implementation has hardly been there. And this is a big debate ongoing, even at the national level. And I've been following a conversation on one of the national televisions, which has really done well because they've invited constitutional lawyers, former attorney generals, and asking, what is the problem? Is the problem the constitution, or is the problem the implementation? And from all those people, you can clearly hear them saying that it's the implementation. So, and our biggest hindrance, they've really well put it, is that it's our culture. Because yes, we have all these good ideas on paper, but when you go into forums where you're speaking with elders, in our communities, most of it is, one is very hierarchical, and then two, our communities are led by men. So you find that a lot of the gender issues will yes be debated, and they will seem like we are making some progress. But you'll find in terms of practical and implementation, it's very difficult to penetrate those elders and the hierarchies within the communities. And I think Ellie, she's now in the midst of one of those communities where very hierarchical and very, men kind of led communities. And even in a community where I come from, which most people feel in Kenya that is very progressive, I can assure you that in terms of leadership and things done within our own community, a lot of it will be led by men. So you come to the gender issues and they are sort of downplayed. In fact, for a long time, since the new constitution, we've had a lot of drama in our parliament with women trying to push for the 2/3 agenda, and they've not gotten through, and at some point, even the men in parliament were calling them flower girls. So it's quite an issue from culture. Thank you.
All right. No, thanks, Bella. As we draw to a close, I would like to ask every one of us here, we've heard from Vayo, we've heard different perspectives and the issues and challenges that the youth are facing, the efforts that she is making, and I'm sure there are other people as well making those efforts. Just to give the youth an opportunity, just to give them a little bit of peace. Now, my question is to all of us on this meeting. If I were to give you a remote control to control and give the young people, the 1.3 billion young people, a little bit of 24 hours of non-violence, and just that peace, what would you want to see? What would you say that if young people can experience this for 24 hours, they would have a little bit of peace?
And, it's a passion of mine anyway, in supporting the work that Ellie and Vayo are doing, particularly in Kenya. And I think, to just give, if I put it in the context actually of Kibera, which is, I'm familiar with it, but if those young people there could for 24 hours have access to some of the projects and some of the good work that's going on in that area, to really appreciate what a difference they themselves can make, that can be huge. That can be huge. And I take that because I was talking to one of the other people in Kibera who was running football, and he said, I just had a phone call and another young girl, or five girls overnight were raped in Kibera. he says, you know, I don't, and I said, yes, but the girls that you have here, that you have playing football, that you have within your this safe environment, you must consider that you are saving these girls from becoming victims. I said, and that's what you need to build that on. So letting other youth experience some of these projects and initiatives to really understand, you know, spend 24 hours doing it and see what they can achieve at the end.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I go next, Leah?
Yes, Lisa.
Thank you. So I would just like to say that I think that that young people are really inclusive and open-minded as a group, and tend to be really understanding around diversity and the benefits that diversity can bring. And I think that it would be really good if they could spend some time with older people and try and influence some older people into trying to be a bit more understanding and open-minded and inclusive in their approach, and that would help to bring some peace.
Okay. Bella?
I'm thinking of so many things, you know, having worked with young people in the refugee camp, having been in, you know, a young person in Kenya, and I think it's for me to maybe it would be just to give them exposure, to realize that there's a lot they can do, because sometimes I think in our context we feel limited. And we think, because of having grown up with a lot of poverty around us and a lot of suppression, we kind of, as when you're young, you kind of feel like your world is very limited and there isn't much that you can do, and a sense of hopelessness, you know, comes in. So I would want to give them, you know, 24 hours of limitless exposure, like magical, you know, you can fly anywhere, go anywhere, and see how, you know, wide the world is and how many possibilities there are within each and every one of our own lives. So I think that's what I would give them.
When given 24 hours of peace, the thing I can do mostly with the teenage, we can do so many. For example, in 24 hours, it is a span of hours. We can do a lot. Like we can engage in activities that ensures peace within ourselves. And when we have, I was thinking about a lot of things to do in 24 hours, as Bella is saying, and you get that within 24 hours, with peace within us, we can do a lot of things. Because as the teenager, the youths, we can do a lot. We can sit down, have a meeting with ourselves to know what the precautions and the measures we should take in our community so that peace is achieved. And in 24 hours, you can do a lot, because you will get, when you have peace within you, even the night sleep will be okay. The night sleep, yeah. And like when there is problems outside, there is rioting, you want to be at peace. Now, with 24 hours with peace, you can do a lot. You can, peaceful mind, you can even read a novel and get something out of it. Now, when given that chance with the teenage girls and the boys, we can do a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Let's hear Elvana.
Thank you again. You said the most important things during all this session. I'm really satisfied, and I mean, I agree with everything what you said during all this session. As a young person that I am, what I would love to do if I would have 24 hours with nonviolence is sharing more love without interests. Because I think that sharing love without interests, this brings peace for each of us. Love is one of the most important things that can make peace everywhere in the world. So personally, there are, as many of you said, there are so many things that we can do if we would have 24 hours more. But the most important things sometimes come from inside of us. So if we share the love without interests, we can make the world much better, much beautiful, and also to live in peace with every each of us. Thank you.
All right, Melissa.
Oh, well, actually, I'm very pleased to say that Elvana said what I was going to say, but much more articulately. So thank you. But I guess I was thinking that for 24 hours, if young people could just really feel love, that would be just an amazing feeling, to be content, to not be striving for or desiring anything, just to be at peace, feeling secure, that would be a good starting point for anything else that they wanted to achieve. Thanks.
All right, right. Tembani, what would you give 24 hours of peace?
See, the thing is, for me, that question is a bit tricky because of there's more I would like the youth to do before I give them peace. Maybe the first obvious thing for 24 hours, if they need peace, especially the youth in my country, in South Africa, I would turn off the internet for 24 hours. I would make sure there's no connection of anything so that they finally face themselves. Okay, that's one. But honestly, what I would like, I think will bring peace to these young kids is that I'm 37 now. I'm 2 years from the Kenya's youth, so I'm 2 years out of the youth. So, and I remember when I was still young, between the ages of 18 and 21, 22, I had so many questions because of I'm learning so many things. I stay in Soweto. I see people behaving this way. I go to school in Pretoria. People at school behave a certain way, but people of the community of Pretoria. So I had so many questions. I see different churches, there's so much noise in my head. And it was difficult for me to get the answers. But I think if we can get for 24 hours, all the kids of the world to be in one room and talk to each other. Here at that age, what is a kid in China thinking? What is a child in Kenya thinking? What is a kid in Australia thinking for 24 hours? I think when we come out of the 24 hours, a lot of kids would have been saved in the 24 hours just to talk to your peers in all the different social aspect, ethnic groups, whatever they may be. That's my 24 hours with the kids, if there's still internet.
Wow, that's very interesting. Okay. So now we have run out of time. Very, very interesting. And I'm sure there are still a number of things that we, could be talking about, maybe exploring what Tembani is just saying now about getting the youth in one room and getting them to talk. I would like to conclude by referring to a South African young man who at the age of 23 was a freedom fighter. Actually, he was a freedom fighter, but he died at the age of 23. He's Solomon Mahlangu. He was sentenced to death at the age of 23 by the apartheid regime of South Africa in 1979. So we are told that before during those years, South Africa's death sentence was the person would be executed by hanging. So we are told that before his execution, he was found guilty of high treason, because he was a freedom fighter. So he uttered the following words. He said, and I quote, "My blood will nourish the tree that will bear the fruits of freedom. Tell my people that I love them. They must continue to fight," close quote. Now, as we have heard from Vayo, the young people of today are facing different challenges that she has mentioned, unemployment, overcrowding, corruption, being violated, rape, etc. So they continue to struggle, even within democracies, even within many, many countries that we want to believe that there's freedom, but the young people still continue to struggle. They struggle for peace, safety, they struggle for recognition and a better life. And we hope that with people such as Vayo and others, and even ourselves, as we engage in dialogues and in communications and meetings of minds, we will one day achieve that ideal that we would like to see for our young people. I want to thank everyone who participated today. Thank you so much. Very interesting and insightful conversations that we had, and special thanks to you, Vayo. And I would like to wish you well and congratulate you on committing yourself to help others. May you grow from strength to strength. And this brings us to the end of our meeting of minds for today. The third session will be on the 21st, which is the International Day of Peace. And then we will be talking on women in uniform. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for today.